Well, good evening, family, and welcome to Front Porch Fridays. This is Paige Hopper.
And I'm Michael Hopper.
And we are just so glad that you joined us today, the day after Turkey Day, stuffing your belly to the brim with food, but you're still here, and we just love and appreciate you for that.
I'm still full myself.
He's still full himself. So we are just excited about tonight. Remember, last week we talked about, I read an excerpt from my book, and it was about, Sarah and Joe and their relationship during the slave era and how that affects us today. And it was really, really a great discussion. So tonight we're going to continue on the trend of relationships, Black male-female relationships, understanding that this conversation is from the context of healing the wounds of American slavery. And so while we're talking about wounds that are sometimes universal to all of us, we have very specific wounds that we face because of what our ancestors went through and the behaviors and the beliefs that were passed down to us. So tonight we're going to be talking about setting the stage for true, lasting love.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it sounds all sweet, but did you know that love is work? Did you know that really relationships and marriage that really last and are effective take work? Did you know that? So let's see. Hello, Victoria and Lynette. Hi. Hi, you two. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'll start by saying that the other day I had, I just came up with this concept of, remember when you were in elementary school and the teacher would go to the board and they were chalkboards, whether chalkboards or whiteboards. I know some schools that we teach in still have chalkboards, but they have this board that they're writing on and they're doing maybe a math lesson. So they fill up the board with all these equations and formulas, and the whole board is full. So before they go on to the next lesson, which might be English, what do they need to do? They need to erase the board, right? So that they have a clean slate going on to the next lesson. Just like the same thing with farmers.
Yeah, so like say for a farmer is considering purchasing a field to raise a crop for the following year. The farmer would go in and investigate the field just to make sure that what he or she wants to grow in that field what actually can really grow from it. Can the ground, is it capable of being tilled? And with the appropriate seeds can grow, whatever the farmer wants to grow out of that field can really grow. But the farmer has to first check out and make sure that that land, that soil is capable of growing what he or she wants to grow. And so that's work. That's work too.
Right. So we've got the teacher clearing the board, erasing the board for a clean slate for the next lesson. We've got our farmer clearing the soil, tilling the soil for whatever the next seeds are for the next harvest time. And then let's think about a developer in the city, big city, wanting to build a big office building, a skyscraper building. So one of the first things that he or she wants to consider going in is what's in the soil on the land that they're about to build this expensive building on that could take years to build. And they want to make sure that it's earthquake safe, retrofit, and sure. So they have to excavate the soil, go all the way down, way down, deep down for a skyscraper. And they have to check the soil and see what's in it and clear it and cleanse it before going forward.
Before going up.
It's the same thing in relationships, love relationships. You want to check out the soil of the person that you're about to join yourself with.
Their heart.
their heart, their soul, to make sure that it is at its capacity. Now, we're not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The word says, no one is righteous, no, not one. So there's not a perfect person walking the face of the earth. But what we do want to make sure is that that person is at least working on themselves. If they have some dirty soil, if they have some stuff from their past that doesn't work or won't fit in a new relationship, then they need to go ahead and cleanse their own heart out, cleanse their soul out, so they're ready for their next relationship. When I met Michael, can I tell it?
A little bit.
Okay. So when I met Michael, we were both in personal development. We were in literally a personal development program. And at that time, we weren't even thinking about each other as far as a love relationship. We were just meeting for the very first time, but we knew that we were in this work. So as time went on and we did start to develop feelings for each other, we knew that this is somebody who is working on themselves. They're capable of being different. They're capable of wanting to cleanse and look really deeply at what's going on with themselves in order to be the best that they could possibly be, not only for themselves, but possibly for a relationship, a love relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So we already knew that about each other once we did start to develop feelings for each other. And that was helpful. So you want to look at, who is this person that you're trying to meld your life with? And you really want to look, because Michael was talking earlier about a farmer acquiring a new field or coming into a new harvest. Let's just say a farmer is acquiring a new field and the field looks beautiful. And it has all of these wonderful, big, tall, gorgeous trees on it. And so they look from a distance and say, oh, it looks good. It has beautiful leaves. The trunk looks sound. There are lots of them. I'm going to go ahead and buy this farm. But then as they really start to get closer and take a closer look at the trees, they might discover the trees have a disease and that they're rotting from the inside out. They're infected or infested, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we want to look really closely. Okay, so we know that what we're doing is we're bringing old school concepts into a new school construct. So I want you to understand right at the onset that these values and beliefs that we're bringing into play have been time tested across centuries, and they work no matter what's going on. So old school values can work in a new school construct. Mm-hmm. They might have to be altered a little bit, tweaked, looked at in a different way to be brought up to date, but they still work. One of the things I was looking at is the concept of computers and technology. Back in the day, people would always have to meet face to face because there was no Facebook, there was no chat, there was no DMs, there was no Instagram, no. And even when computers did start to come on the scene, not everybody had one. But now everybody has a computer, or at least access to one, or a phone. And so they're meeting by computer, and that's great. People should, and I have nothing against that. But the thing is, eventually, you're going to have to come face to face, and you're going to have to relate person to person, one on one. And so then what? Because what I find is true, even for myself in some cases, is that, if we're going to post a picture of ourselves with a quote or a meme or something like that, what we'll do is we'll file through 50 shots looking for that perfect one. If I was on vacation, I'm looking for the one where the sky looked just right and the beach was in the background and the waves were crashing just right and my hair was blowing in the wind and I looked like at the certain angle to look as skinny as I possibly could. That is the one I'm going to post, right? So now, not only that, but I might decide to use a filter. So what somebody is seeing, they're seeing me, but at the same time, they're seeing an image of me that I want them to see. And so when we do that, once we come into contact with that person in real time, in real life, and they do actually have cellulite, right? That's just what comes up for me. Like, they do actually have cellulite. Right. That beautiful mustache that they had is really like not there. And, that gorgeous hair or whatever it is, it's like they're take it off. And so you're not really seeing what the person actually looks like. But what we want to help support people to do is to be prepared for real, so that when you do come in contact with this person for real, then you're ready. And that you make sure that you choose someone, or they choose you, someone who's ready. So,
and face-to-face is not intimidating.
Yeah, and then face-to-face won't be intimidating. So you want to talk about the wounds? Go ahead, I got this. Go ahead, I got this.
So we all have wounds, that's for sure. We all do. The thing I was thinking about too, leading up to this evening, was I remember the saying where it's important that we first find the time to love ourselves. Do whatever we got to do to love ourselves. Thereby we can love other people. And it's challenging to love somebody else if you don't love yourself. And the thing which is so key about the wounds that come from the ancestors and from slavery, this is what Paige's study has been all about. Well, one aspect of it is, if I've been trained to hate myself, if Black people of people of African descent have been trained to hate themselves, if men are trained to hate themselves and to see the women in their life in a negative fashion, see themselves in a negative fashion, inferior, less than, then it'll be difficult to truly love. It'd be difficult to love fully when I find it hard to love myself.
Right.
And so part of that cleansing, part of that erasing, part of that clean slate, part of getting rid of the infections, part of the excavating and getting real is purging ourselves from all of that that's taken place, that we might have even inherited from previous generations, and that in some cases is being reinforced today to cause us to hate ourselves. Where we look at, I got to get off this script. The script that I'm on is designed for me to hate myself. You can set it to music, you can dance to it, call myself certain names, call you certain names, but I got to get off this script, because the script is not designed for me to have a fully loving, authentic relationship.
Right.
And that's what I want. That's what I believe a lot of us want. But we got to get on another script that's not designed for us to hate ourselves or to think less of ourselves. That when we really, really, really look and connect all the dots, it can take us back to physical chattel slavery in this country.
Yeah.
So it's the healing of the wounds that is so important, or at least the starting of the process.
Yes.
Of healing the wounds.
And remembering that we all have wounds. We all have wounds. And so when you're creating that list, when I'm creating that list of all the things, all the qualities and characteristics that I want this person to have, and I won't love them fully unless they have all these things going on, then I need to check myself first. Do I have all that going on? So as we're vetting each other, as two people are vetting each other, that's gathering information that will help them to decide, is this the person for me? There'll be some information that you get that is a deal breaker. I'm not going with that. This is a raging alcoholic. He's mean to his mother. He beats the dog. Then that person is probably not ready to love. They're probably not doing a lot of personal development work. They're probably really manifesting some things that are deep issues that you don't want to deal with. Then there are some things that might not be deal breakers. It might not make or break the situation. For example, if people have had children, two people have had children. Let's just say a man and a woman have already had children, and the man has a 1-year-old. The woman has a 3-year-old. Well, that when there's a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old there are still parents involved. There are still mamas and daddies involved in these children's lives. Hopefully daddies, hopefully mamas are involved in these children's lives. Well, then you're not just dealing with that one person. You're now dealing with 2, 4, 10. You're dealing with families, whole families, and blending families. That's a whole other issue. But it might not be a deal breaker, because even if that person had a child and then they had to come out of that relationship after a year, who's to say what's happened in that year? And if this person may be on the road to personal development and changing their life and growing and getting better and excavating all that dirty soil or whatever was going on that caused this breakup. Same thing with the 3-year-old's parent. But it's really essential to look to see, is this person really somebody that is worthy and worth it to me to come into contact with, bringing my cleansed soil life. Nobody's perfect again. No one's righteous, no, not one. But if somebody's working on theirs and the other person's not, that's probably not a very good match, right?
Both need to be working on it.
You both need to be working on it. Both need to be working on it. Sometimes the information that we're gathering is just intel for the future. Like it may not make, it may not break, it may just be a matter of, okay, this is something I'm going to put in my pocket for later. Because, for example, one of those things might be if somebody has an addiction. Okay, if they have a sexual addiction, they have an alcoholic addiction, a drug addiction, a porn addiction, they have an addiction. But they're working on it. They might be in a 12-step program. They might be, doing a lot of meditation and prayer and journaling, getting coaching, mentoring around that situation, therapy. Then, okay, you have to decide at what point are they well enough for you to engage with. So that's information you just put in your pocket. Okay, this person has this going on, but at least they were honest with me. They told me where they are, and honesty is a great point. So that's another thing that you might want to consider. And again, we all have wounds. But is the person working on theirs? That's what you want to ask yourself. Am I working on mine? Are they working on theirs? And is there somewhere we can meet in the middle? Now, I want to just hit on this because we're keeping this short tonight, but there's the issue of hidden wounds, where a person may not even know that it's there themselves to be able to share the information with you. For example, if someone's been raped, if someone's been in a violent relationship, if someone has been in a situation where they ended up incarcerated and things happened while they were there that they just bury deep, deep, deep down. It's not like they're even trying to trick you or be dishonest or not be full disclosure with you. It's just something that got buried deeply. And it may be hidden. And then you go through all this vetting, you ask your questions, you bring the village in and everybody examines this person. And that's another conversation for next week, that we're going to get it more into vetting, courting, dating, more specific detail. But, this person may have these hidden wounds that will only appear once you are literally in relationship with them. Sometimes you're already married to them. But here's the point. Listen closely. If this is a person that you knew at the onset was working on their stuff, they're working on their issues, they're working on their wounds, then you already know that when these hidden wounds come up, they're not going to freak out on you. They're going to take that hidden wound, that really brutal secret of all secrets, and they're going to deal with it in the same manner that they were dealing with the other wounds when you met them, or when you started vetting them, or when you started courting or dating them. So that's an important thing to know. And that goes so much more deep in our webinar, which we're going to be doing in January. We're going to be hitting on these issues so much more deeply, taking deep dives on all your questions and comments and all those things. But for now, if you have any questions, please ask them. And then I'm going to move on and give you some heart work for this period of time until we see you again. It's the Healing the Wounds heart work. We don't call it homework, it's heart work. So first I want to just say hello to Bradley, to Angela, John, Amelia, Phyllis, Diane, Sonia, Linda, Ashley, Victoria, everybody who's joining us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And we're also going to be doing a live interactive production in February. If you can possibly be here, do not miss that. It is going to be amazing. Amazing and exciting. You get us face to face, and we really start to love on you, and just really get into personal issues and personal questions, personal problems, and all these things that come up. Also, we have a lot of fun because it's very interactive. So if there are no questions, I'm going to go on to our heart work for today and going into this coming week. Are you listening? If you're listening, type Y. If you're listening, type Y. Let me see. I don't see any Y's. Okay.
Yeah, there.
All right. So you're listening. Okay. So your heart work for the week, healing the wounds heart work, is to have a do not kid yourself day. Do not kid yourself day is when you really tell yourself the absolute truth about what's going on in your life, inside your heart, right? And I got that term, do not kid yourself day, from a very good friend of mine, Elvis Newhart. So props to Elvis. So your heart work is to get quiet, search yourself, and come up with one of your deepest wounds. That's it. Get quiet, search your heart, and come up with one of your deepest wounds. Tell yourself the truth about it, because you can't heal it if you don't face it. You can't heal it if you don't dig it up and face it. So that's your heart work. Until next week, as you know, Friday is our date night. So we're going to take off now and do that. Thank you again so much for joining us. We look forward to you coming into our interactive productions, joining us on our webinar in January. This is going to be a breakthrough year. Again, remember, 2019 is the 400th anniversary of the first African enslavement in the American colonies. So there's going to be a lot that's going to be unpacked and coming up and out. And we want to help everybody not to freak out about it, but to really get a grasp on it and be real about what it is that we're feeling. What you're feeling is real. I validate that. And the number one thing you need to know about healing the wounds is that there is hope. We love you so much. We appreciate you joining us, and we hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.